My guests are dutifully arrived, one from somewhere in Ohio, and the other somewhere in West Africa, actually Ghana. And I'm, of course, in West London. So um, you're all very, very welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you very
And
much, Chester for Faith. Thank
yeah,
you.
and I hope that we pick up a bit of an audience as we go along, because this is being streamed on my YouTube channel and also my African Renaissance channel and also my personal Facebook page. So please, folks, do chime in with the comments and let us know what you are saying. Okay, right, let's get straight to what we're going to talk about tonight. And this is the story. I want to, first of all, welcome everybody to a new strand of chats aimed at exploring ways in which we can open our minds to fresh frontiers of consciousness and the exploration of new ways to organize our lives. Like most Africans of my generation, I was educated in the Western system, which history has shown not to work very well in advancing Africans who apply it to their home continent. Western thinking and paradigms, rather than being universal truths, seem to be designed to optimize life for the former colonizers while maintaining a strong grip on the control of world finance, politics, and media. Africans applying many of those methods present somewhat like birds dropping into the sea to compete with the fish, for whom the water is their natural environment. Awakening Africa is my effort to craft a way of being and thinking that suits us. If, say, we are birds, whose natural medium is flight in the air, not swimming in water. So, in this first episode, I'm joined by a long term friend to this program, traditional ruler and agricultural economist Ben Brackle, and Rahima Quay, a journalist and social commentator based in Ghana, to discuss a system of ownership, production, and distribution of wealth known amongst our ancestors as Ibusa. So, what is Ibusa? How does it treat ownership and labor? How does it motivate and promote the engagement of the people? How does it distribute the profits of enterprise? And could its ideas and methods be worth referencing for our benefit in modern times? So there we are. Look, I had to keep the intro short, especially for Ben, because if I went on, it would take up the entire program. But Ben Brown, thank you very much for joining, and Rahima Quay, you as well. Ben, what are you doing? Where are you at the moment? And what was that event that you did? Was it in Virginia recently?
Um, yeah, I'm in a place called Lima, a small town near Columbus in Ohio.
Oh,
Very
yeah.
quiet, very serene, very green, and
Right.
I love it. Yeah.
It's
Okay.
nice
And
there,
you're
huh?
asking about an event. I went to do the APSU, that is the Augustine Past Students Union
Oh,
gala. Yeah, in Virginia.
right. So
Yes.
you're an old St. Augustine's man.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm an old St. Augustine's man and a new St. Augustine's man as well.
Wow. That's some mafia if it's spreading all the way out to all the way out to the United States of America. You guys must be proud of yourselves.
Oh yes, yes, they're doing very well. You should see the school now. It looks beautiful, and they're doing a lot of things. So I really am pleased with it.
I'm absolutely delighted. So, of course, I haven't mentioned that, you're really kind of a high life icon for our modern period in Ghana.
Mhm.
So, and also that you're a traditional ruler. Which part of Ghana are you a chief in, Ben?
Gomwa Asing Mampong. Yeah, it's
Okay.
it's it's a place that is just before you get to Winneba,
Okay.
from Accra. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. So, well, you're qualified to talk about the matters we're going to be talking about later on this evening. Now, Rahima, I got to tell you from the get go that you are here repping Generation Y and the Zoomers. Because we had an experience on this program a little while back, which showed us that actually the mindset of people of your generation is very, very different to the mindset of people of mine and Ben's generation. And that seeing as you are the people who will pay the price of whatever mistakes we make today, we feel that it's important for you to get involved in the conversation. So no pressure. You're just repping your generation. That's
Sure,
really good.
sure. Thank you for
How's
the
it going?
opportunity.
How's it going?
Oh, it's going well. It's going well, and I'm glad to be here to represent my generation. Because yes, as the future, how do we say it, belongs to us, or we tend to be the future leaders. We need to take certain decisions that will also not affect our offspring.
Okay, that's fantastic. Okay, so now let's get to this straight away. Ben, what is Ibusa and what does it have to teach us? Very briefly.
Well, Ebusa strictly is a system, a traditional system of conducting various things. For instance, uh, typically what I know about Ebusa through experience is that it has been used very, very successfully as a method of management model for farming. Okay, traditionally, that is not just peasant farming. So there's a difference between peasant farming, that is individually owned and run small farm to keep
Sharecropping.
the body and soul alive, and then like a 30, 50, or 80 acre farm, which is like a plantation, like especially cocoa. And Ghana, when Ghana was the leading cocoa producer in the world, this was the system that was prevalent. I know this because my dad was a cocoa officer with the Ministry of Agriculture. Okay, yeah. So we used to live in the villages, and we experienced a lot of stuff like that. Now, what happens is that the Busa is a system that is considers three aspects within management and production. Okay, so it considers A, that is the ownership. That's usually land. Okay, that's the property. And then it considers management. Okay, and then it considers labor. Now it considers all these three as equal partners
Partners.
in the management and production. So the end effect is that at the end of the day, when profits are being shared, it is shared equally into three. So labor gets a third, management gets a third, and then ownership gets a third. Now, the obvious question to this is that, so how do they keep body and soul together, waiting for the harvest to be sold?
To come.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's very, very simple, because as well, they also run their own individual small holding farms.
Right.
You see what I mean?
Right.
So,
So you're saying that the owners, the laborers, and also the people involved in management also have their own small holding farms to keep body and soul together
that is,
while the big harvest is
yeah,
coming up with the big
yeah.
profits.
That the owner, indeed, in a Busan, the owner really is not concerned about the work there, and is probably engaged in other enterprises.
Enterprises.
May even be absent. Now, in the case where the owner is part of the management, the system becomes ebunu. That means it's two parts. So it's the labor and the proprietor. So everything is divided into two at the end of the day.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
So, Ben, what would you say? And Brahima, please chime in. I mean, and speak from your point of view. So, if, for example, a system like this was instituted tomorrow, and you are going to be its beneficiary or its victim, please speak up to this. But the first question I have for Ben is, What does this do to the motivation of in the case of Ibusa, which is the tripartite, the three-part setup, or in the case of Ibunu, the two-part setup? What does this do to motivation and engagement of the different parties?
That's a brilliant question, and uh, I can illustrate that with a short story. But basically, it means that every human element in production is part of the ownership, okay, and so benefits equally. So
Mm-hmm.
therefore, they do the work with their hearts and their mind, okay, and they don't feel that somebody's getting too much and they are getting just peanuts, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now let me tell you point blank that labor, as defined by so-called Western or European business, is actually an offshoot of slavery, okay. So it's just a fine name for a slave because you just get uh, uh, wages, okay, which no matter how much the business is making, you just get minimum wages.
That's like
Now,
mine.
the
Yep.
traditionalists, the people in the rural areas, they know the value of their work. So when they are part of the Busa, they work very hard, and production is very successful. You understand? Now, so and it also brings about the question of honesty. Okay, they don't pilfer the goods, they don't steal from each other. There was an owner who was a very rich guy in Accra, and he sent his children uh, outside to study. Okay, so he left the whole enterprise to a management, which was actually one guy with his family. Okay, and he employed other people. Now, the owner, the children came from outside and they lived in Accra, and they didn't know the father's involvement in this plantation, this Ebusa issue with plantations outside of Accra in the rural areas in their village. So the father passed away, and they didn't know anything. Then they went to a funeral in the village, and while they were at the funeral, the management the management had not been able to pay the father his shares for quite a few years, and had therefore, but had compiled all the money together and was looking for a way to find the owner of this money. So when the children came and he was informed that these were the children of the father, he came and told them that, oh, please, I need to talk to you about your father's shares. And they didn't think there was anything worthwhile with this guy. The guy insisted and then brought the money, huge bundles of money accrued over about 3 or 4 years, okay, and gave it to them. And these guys were shocked. They were wasting their time in Accra when the real money was in in the rural areas, and they didn't even know that they could make such money. You understand? But you see, the essence of the story is that there was honesty because everybody was getting a fair share of the proceeds. So there's honesty in labor, in the work, in the output, and honesty also in taking care of the other people's shares. So that is a busa for you.
Rahima, what do you make of this?
So I think it's a system that I think many of us would or should adopt in terms of working with people, because in a state where we are always terming labor, as Mr. Ben said, as slavery, because we say labor have to do a lot of work for me and I'll give you just a peanut because of I said, you just come work for me, let me give you peanut. I think when we are able to probably sell to the laborer that this work that you're doing for me, you're going to get this amount of money, not in the terms of cheating you, but it's supposed to be a thing of it is for me, it is for you. I think that is where we get the laborers to actually put in the actual work to get the productivity that you'd want in whatever business it is you're doing. And I think if we should use such systems in how we deal with people, it would actually yield more results for us than how we are doing right now.
I see. Well, you see, one of the things that comes to mind is one of corruption. I mean, the only reason people aren't corrupt when they work for themselves is because they don't. Nobody wants to cheat themselves.
Yeah.
But if you feel as if you don't have a percentage in the enterprise that's going on, it takes a saint to actually have the moral strength to say, well, look, I'm not going to subvert this system. I'm not going to cheat. I'm not going to take bribes. I'm not going to steal merchandise and flog it, by the back door and stuff like that. And it seems to me that this is a big, big problem because everybody has got to be looking out for their best interest.
Yeah.
And if the structures we have is the Western capitalist system, where the investor basically takes the profits and walks off, or even if the investor is the government and the government takes the profits and walks off, I think people are going to cheat. What do you think, Ben?
I think, I mean, it's not only that, I mean, it is actually happening to the extent that people keep saying that Ghanaians are lazy, they don't like working, they go to work and they don't pay attention and all that. But you see, a friend of mine who is a business owner said that, look, these businesses and government, they pretend to employ people because when they pay them, does not take care of their rent, their transportation, their food, their families, So when they come to work, they have to think and find ways and means of making ends meet. So they cannot focus on the work. You see what I mean? And so it is like pretending to employ them. And they also pretend to work, but they are there, they come to work just to find other means to make ends meet. So it is not a question of dishonesty. It's a question, if it's a question of dishonesty at all, it is dishonesty of business in not giving workers the right remuneration for the efforts they put in.
Yeah.
You understand? So they instead also have to find ways and means to redress this shortfall. But if they were to get their right remuneration, they would put in very, very, all the work that is needed. And I know this for sure because, like, people say that Ghanaians are lazy, but if you go and watch any thing on
Galamsey.
and you see these people.
Can you explain what Galamsey is? Because, Ben, people don't know what Galamsey is. Can you explain what that is just very quickly?
Yeah, well, Galamsey is the system of mining, prospecting for gold, which they use they troll the soil, okay, and then run it with water through a sieving system, and then collect the gold at the end of the day. But what it does is it means you have to dirty yourself. You have to plunge yourself in the dirt, in the water, and everything. And people are ready to do that because they're earning money. You understand? But when you take them to, like, a typical example is that when the government started doing plantation farms for cocoa, trying to improve the productivity and cut down the cost, they started paying wages for the labor. And these people will come and just mark themselves as having come to work and then go back to their own farms and work because they
work on their farms. Yeah.
Yes, their own.
So it's not, the issue isn't laziness, then, is it?
No, it's not laziness at all. It's just that they know what their worth is, and so they won't accept anything less because they don't feel they're not slaves by any.
Okay. I'm going to ask Rahima, what do you have to say about that?
I think that is true because
Go ahead.
if I'm working and I am giving something worth what effort I'm putting into the work, then I'll do it more than necessary, right? Because if I'm working and I know whatever results you're getting is not matching the amount of money you're giving me, whatever value or how do you call it, wage you're giving me, then I'm not really going to put in the work anymore because it's like you starting a business with somebody and then you realize that in terms of profit, the person is actually cheating you. The drive you had before would go down. If you take a company like WeWork started with actually no employees, right? But what they sell to the people they had under them was not necessarily salaries, to them shares, right? So these people believe that they belong to the company, so that got them to work more than necessary. They put in too much energy because they know that they belong to the society they were in, and it's not laziness, right? So I think with just what Mr. Ben said, I don't think there's nothing like laziness. If I am working and I realize you are cheating me, then I also find a way to also cheat you in a way that we all know we are balancing the equation here. So I don't think there's anything
Okay.
like laziness. And I think if we come to the African youth, especially, they realize that there's too much, cheating in the system, especially when it comes to government officials. So even the enthusiasm to do something that would benefit them in the future with regards to the government or the country, they are reluctant to do it. They do not want to do it because they realize that whatever results that may come out for whatever effort they would put in, they wouldn't get anything out of it. They'll be cheated after that. So I think it's not laziness. If you are able to be honest to these people and give them what they deserve, they'll put in the work that's necessary to get things to move on.
So then what is the problem? Is the problem the issue of the structure within which we are working? Because you're telling me, Ben is telling me, Ghanaians aren't lazy. They're perfectly well motivated, but they want a fair shake. They want to be paid what they're worth. The system we've got at the moment is it calls labor what it should really be called slavery.
Yeah.
So what's your solution? You tell me. If you could wave a magic wand, you're the Minister of Economic Development. What suggestions do you have, Rahima?
So I think first of all, it has to do with the structure or system we are working in, right? So first, if we take our constitution itself, for example, there are lots of problems over there that we have youth chanting for it to be changed, amended, and all of that. But because these people know that when they do that, it would go against them. Whatever they are enjoying now, it would come to a halt. They do not want to
Hold
see
it,
certain
hold
things
it,
like
hold
that.
it, Rahima. Wait. Who is these people?
Government officials,
And
basically.
what specific? I need examples of the Constitution because this is the only way things get addressed. Give me an example.
So
What do you mean by? Do you mean Ben? People like Ben and me? Because we're old people.
not
No,
necessarily.
be frank.
Not
I
necessarily.
mean, this.
Not necessarily, but because if you take, for example, people in the government, in the public sector, right? I mean, we
Mhm.
have the retiring age to be 60, for example, but we have people who have doubled their names in registers who are way past 60 and are still in these offices and enjoying whatever money they're supposed to not enjoy. They're supposed to leave that office for somebody else to come in. If we take um, the ex gratia, that is actually one of the problems we are facing right now in Ghana, right? I know you came in to serve the country, and then ex gratia is more like paying time to show gratitude to whoever came for. But I think at
Mhm.
times, sometimes we just have to come to the realization that certain things need to come to a halt for certain things to be solved. Right now, we have so many loans as supposed to pay, right? And then you ask the question, even with now, what are change or positive change in our societies or in our country that we still need to give extra shares to these people? Why don't you put that money into something else that would rather help with the economical growth of the country? Right? I think things need to be changed. I think we have so many people in the system who are stuck to the old ways and do not want to see, even if they are saying the new thing that they need to change to, they do not want to change it because it is favoring them. And this is where we actually need to stop. Because even if you go out to the street and try to tell the youth that, oh, it's high time you and I go onto the street, it's high time you and I go into offices and spaces that would help you make the change you need. They didn't go because they don't believe that change will be made. Because how many times have we not gone onto the street to or demonstrate about whatever it is, and then it's still the same thing? So it's like right now, I don't want to say hope is lost because there are so many organizations that are still working toward whatever bigger picture it is. But I think for you to push the young Ghanaian youth to even go in to do something for her country, it wouldn't happen.
Right, Ben.
Yeah.
Um, eh, over to you.
Okay.
I mean,
To
so I mean, the picture is being pretty well
yeah.
painted.
Yeah.
of a self-serving, self-interested, pretty smug, I would say professional, middle, and educated classes in the country who basically make the policy decisions. And things work, if I may say so, in your favor and mine, because we belong to that group. How can this change happen?
Well, in the first place, I think that you cannot really govern a people properly
Hmm.
unless and until you understand the culture from
Hmm.
which they operate. Okay. And
Hmm.
you have to also know the cultural norms and the knowledge base of that culture. Okay. And
Hmm.
understand why and how it is there, to be
Right.
able to deal with them properly. Now, our people have been trained in a way that, first of all, they don't know their own culture. Okay, and then secondly, what they know is a foreign system. Okay, and then of course, like, when they go to seek advice from this for this foreign system, all that they are told and all that they follow is what they know, which is that you have to, like you said, uh, follow their system, okay, which
Hmm.
doesn't work with us properly. So it is a question of coming into our own, having a reset, understanding ourselves, and then knowing what we do, what we are, and how we do things, and doing it properly. Because these skills have been honed over thousands of years, to suit
By
our
who? Honed
conditions
over thousands of years by who?
by the traditional people by the culture. The culture has been honed. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
like
Right.
they have their own system of, let's say, irrigation, right?
Right.
Which is effective for them, okay,
Right.
and cost effective. Now, the
Right.
government will come in with people who are trained by foreign systems, and they go and bring in expensive set of
Equipment.
equipment for irrigation, which
Right.
is not as effective as the traditional one,
Right.
okay,
Hmm.
but which is much more costly. And then, which, because the people, it's not the people's something that they're used to, they cannot even run it properly, they cannot maintain it, and it breaks down. So it just becomes a big colossal loss. But these people are selling their equipment, you understand, and then we have to pay for it. So this is
Right.
this is
And
all that's
of
going
course
on.
they're selling the spare parts
Yes,
and the training and
that's
everything
right.
else that
That's
goes with
right.
it.
And the
So
expense they
why
bring
wouldn't
in.
they do? I mean, if I was in their shoes, I would do the same thing.
Well, to be honest with you, Tete, doing that cannot be the best possible way. If they did it honestly, you know what?
Right.
They will benefit more and better from it if they were not so
Okay.
short-termist.
Okay. Thank you. Look, I want to go to Rahima now. Rahima, see where we are now is I want to ask you a question. Um, are you conscious that there is something called an African consciousness, or are you just conscious of what you think? See, Ben is talking about a mentality, a certain mentality that is now abroad within the professional classes in Africa, which does not understand what it is to be African. Do you have a sense of this, or is Ben talking Greek to you?
No, I don't think that is Greek, right? I think that is Greek, and I think sometimes we follow blindly. I'll go as low as in terms of our clothing as an example, because first of
Right?
all, I'll take the media being the channel in which these informations and we are educated about a lot of things. They
Can
actually
you slow down because you're speaking quite quickly? People won't catch it.
All right, so
Okay, go ahead.
I'm going to take the media, right? The media is actually the channel in which or by which people are educated or people are given
Okay,
information about a lot of things, right? They
right,
actually inform us, and I think that
right,
we are able. So just to come as
right,
low as even our clothings, right? I think if you say white collar jobs, right? The main people weather compared to the Western weather is very different, right? But
right,
we, in the same way, have still copied how they dress, not necessarily thinking about what our weather system is like.
right.
So this is something because even aside the clothing, we just go into things because we think the Western people are because we see them to be a developed country and we want to copy from them to be a developed country too, even though we are a developing country. It's not everything that I think we're supposed to take from them. Whatever culture, I think everything also starts from culture, right? Their culture is so different from what Africans' culture are, right? And then if we come to the specific African countries, they also have different cultures in between. So you
Right.
don't just blindly follow what the West things are doing and come just put it in your system because you think it will work for you too.
Okay. Let me ask you this. You see, in my generation, we were the first generation of Africans to be independent of colonial rule. And of course, if you look at the schools that were left, for example, in Ghana, they were like British public schools. That the system of education created a class of Ghanaians who were better educated than the rest and on whom the responsibility for running the country mostly led, but mostly fell. Um, so these people were taught a certain way. I won't go into the nicknames that people now ascribe to people like that. But by the time your generation came along, have you become conscious that actually people in my generation were mostly spending our time copying Europeans rather than thinking of new ways of solving our problems? Is your generation, does your generation feel that at all, or am I putting thoughts and ideas into your head?
No, I think my generation is not of the copy mindset. No, I think we have so many young people, especially in Africa or in Ghana, especially, who have risen to think the otherwise. Right? We don't just because I think they have, or no, I think I believe they have felt the consequences of certain actions from before and what is happening now actually
Hmm.
gone into research to see how it is affecting them, right? So they don't really do the more of copying Europeans. No, they do things that they know would rather what help us, especially when it
Work
has
for
to deal
them.
with the African way.
Right, right. Okay. Ben, let me come back to you.
Mhm.
Looking at the future, what do you think people of my generation and yours can do to enable the rise, the comfort, the welfare, the benefit of Rahima's generation?
Yeah, I think that what we're doing right now is part of it. That is spreading, uh, you know, real and true knowledge, and letting them know that what they have already is 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 adequate, and that they should develop from what they have. They should know who they are and respect the knowledge base that they have and work from that. Now, um, you see, the thing is, these people, the colonialists, they came and they trained us in their schools to be like them. So when they had trained enough of us, they decided that they will give us independence. And then the independence meant that those who of us who have been trained like them can now take over and run things in their absence, but on the same basis and for them. So you'll find that government, which is traditionally called Aban, is actually against the interest of the people. Okay, and I say this because, for instance, when the colonialists were there, they bought all the cocoa, right, and exported it, and then kept half of the money, okay, and give the remainder to the cocoa farmers. Now, when we are independent, the government still has this cocoa marketing board, and they keep half the money still, and then give not so much to the cocoa farmers. Now, why would the government do that if it was a government of its own people? If it's not a government that's representing outsiders? You understand what I'm saying? So, that mindset and the lack of knowledge of our own traditional system is a major stumbling block to our development. And you will find that all over the world, those groups or ethnic groups or races that know themselves and respect their own culture are the ones who are making strides. And those that are just trying to copy others are actually retrogressing. And in the case of Ghana and most African countries, I would say that we are retrogressing because we are dealing with a system that we don't know, that we don't understand, that doesn't harmonize with us as a people. And you find that, in fact, people in the rural areas and stuff are not even given a say in the running of things. They're not even considered. All the focus is on Accra and stuff. They want to build a new Dubai. They want to build a new London instead of building an original Accra. You understand? So the mindset is very important for the youth to understand that the mindset is crucial to how they'll be successful, how we can actually succeed as a people.
Okay, I'm going to ask Rahima. Rahima, if you could wave a magic wand, what would you do if you had access to real decision makers in society? If you had a platform on the media, what would you say we need in terms of a changed mindset?
Okay.
Do you have any ideas?
I don't really have a specific idea, but I think there are certain things I think could be changed that would help us. So,
Right.
first of all, I think, in as much as these people came to rule us and then gave us schools and all of that, but I think whatever education system they left here is different from what they are running in their countries right now. And it's high time we stop basing on just what they left here. It's like we are not willing or we are not ready to, make changes. We don't like the term change. We're just stuck up that one particular place that we were brought to, and we don't want to leave there afterwards. We need to look at what the world is getting into, or where the world is going to, and then we make changes to meet those evolutions and all of that. So first of all, I think now senior high schools and then universities are put it or are involving the practicality of things so that students don't just read books, and make things work, but they are able to also get the field experience of what things are. And I think when it comes to labor, it's high time we give people, the respect they deserve. I think things like the minimum rate wage here is really bad. So it's high time we increase that. And I think the support for the youth. So we have so many youths who have businesses that but would rather have the international body come in to invest and then they take the profits afterwards. So I think it's high time we put certain investments into the youth over here than to just look at the public sector only then, and that is not really making any result or bringing any results to us, and to also block chances of what this international in Ghana right now, who are championing more than thousands of these youth, but rather they get it to keep the profits afterwards. So I think many systems that are rather benefiting the people the age of 50 years and above right now needs to be changed, right? They need to be focused on people between the from the ages of 18 and above or even 20 and above, because they are the people who have the power strength to make things work for this country. Because if you're not going to focus on them, then how do we get productivity in this country to go on to give us the economic value that we want?
Okay. Now, while we're on that one, I've got to ask you, because you're a woman, what do you think about the equality of the genders and the opportunities that are available or not available to young women in Ghana?
Okay, so I think right now the quality is really up, and then people are actually being given the chance as men are also given the chance, right? I think that is a fight that is actually very well championed by so many of these CSOs in Ghana currently. um,
What do you mean? But hang on, hang on. Well, what's a CSO?
so the
What are you
the
talking about?
NGOs and other social bodies.
Okay,
Yes,
okay,
yes,
yeah,
that support things like that. So these
right.
people are actually fighting for the equality for women also. And I think right now opportunities are actually given, right?
Good.
Even though it's not rising as we thought it was, and because I think there's still the fight between equality and equity, and because the men, some people still believe there can never be equality, right? But I also think I am of the view that no matter what happens, men and women cannot be equal, especially when it comes to biological means, because
Functions.
yes, biological functions, because the strength that men have is not equal to what we women have, right? But either ways, if we need certain, we require certain resources to get things to work like what the men are doing, then we should be provided with those resources and to tell us that we cannot have the same opportunities as they also have.
Do you think, for example, that it's fair that sanitary products are taxed? I mean, isn't that like a tax on femininity?
Yes, it is something we need to scrape off. We need to take that thing off because it's something natural. We didn't ask for that to happen, and we are paying for these parts. We are buying them, and then you want to tax them. And the funny thing is, if you go to these rural areas, these young girls are using all sort of materials during this their periods, and it's very wrong. And we don't have people actually looking at that. You only find NGOs going there once a while or once a year to just say, "Hey, take this part." I mean, you just give a student one part, and then for the other 11 months, what do they use? I think we need to actually put those people especially into consideration, because they need to go they need to use healthy things during these periods, because it could affect their reproductive system, right? It's very important. It's very wrong to tax these parts, because pads that are now going for 20 cedis for one and 25 cedis for one and more, it's too expensive.
Okay. Look, I'm going to bring everybody into the studio now. Let's see where we are. Okay, but we're all here. Okay, look, I'm going to kind of wrap this up now, but starting with Ben and then going to Rahima, what do you think we can learn from our culture, from our traditional methods and means, to enable us to build more sustainably for the future of the continent? Ben,
Yeah. You see,
fairly quickly.
one thing that we have to be aware of is that when people come into our communities and we already have systems working and they try to change the system, it is not because they are interested in us, it is because they are looking for profits. Okay? So when, for instance, they come and change your religion, they change your name, they change the clothes you wear, they change your basic lifestyle as to, you have to go to church every Sunday or sometimes even more than that. That all these things, when you want to get married, you have to wear a suit, you have to drink a certain kind of drink, and all these are from outside. You understand? So they are selling underneath all this about, I'm trying to civilize you, I'm trying to do this, I'm trying to do this. They are selling to you, and then they are weakening your production systems and strengthening theirs. Okay, when they give you aid, what they are doing is they are boosting their own economy because the aid is tied to equipment and personnel from their economy. Okay, so really all the aid, what comes into the country is usually 20% or less, but you pay for everything, but it's they who are benefiting. Okay, also because a lot of the aid is fashioned in such a way that it cannot really benefit you. So it is important.
Wrapping it up, Ben.
Sorry, wrap it up.
Sorry, wrapping it up now.
Yeah, so wrapping it up, I would say that we have to know ourselves and to be confident in ourselves as full and equal human beings. We have so many things that are superior to everything that they can teach us and bring to us, but we're not even looking. So let us look at ourselves. Let us do our research. Let us create our database, knowledge base, and then work from there. Because all the education is useless if it cannot help you solve your problem.
That's true.
Okay, fantastic. I like that. Rahima,
Yeah.
over to you. Okay, you're in charge now. Tell me, what do you think we can leverage from our traditional culture, way of being, knowledge, and so on, to aid sustainable development that won't make us
Okay,
go back?
so yeah, I very much I agree with what Mr. Ben Bako just said. It's one thing we need to do, and I think the other thing is we have to adopt collectivism, right? It's high time we just stop looking at what we are going to benefit and start working together as a group of people, looking at a goal that will benefit all of us. Because if Ghana is good today, it's good for me and you. Because if you look at these people who claim to be leaders, who claim to be here to support us to build the country with us, they do not have the people here to suffer as we are suffering. They are somewhere outside the country having the best of systems they think would work best for them. So if they want to really help this country, then they need to, have that sense of collectivism with the people of the country and be willing to listen to what they have to say, and not necessarily just because you are in that space that gives you that makes you the best person when it comes to decisions, right? I mean, you are the government representatives, they're representing us, so you should sometimes listen to us when we also speak, just to know that we have also we're not just speaking, we have gone into the spaces of research and know what will work best for our country.
Okay. Thank you very much. Last question to both of you, very briefly. Do you think people are sick and tired of this conversation? Like, they see us having this conversation, which is actually crucial to the welfare of our nation, and they think, oh, this won't put food on my table, it won't buy fuel for my car, it won't give me somewhere to live. What's the relevance? What do you think of, how do you respond to that, Ben?
Well, from my observation, I think people are really cottoning on and getting wiser. And the harder and the tougher it gets for them, the more they realize that this is a whole,
It's not
big
working.
hype, and that, really have to get back to ourselves and then do the right things, because we are giving everything away for a few people to benefit. Whereas we could all have a decent life if we did things that we know and we are used to, that we've actually accumulated for years of knowledge, And let somebody come today, fresh from someone, come and tell us and take all our goodies away. You know,
Okay. Rahima?
So I think it's a two-way street. It's a 50-50. Right now, people are divided into two. 50 people, 50% of the people are actually so interested in such conversations. The other 50 just think it's a waste of time because no matter how many conversations you make or have, they are still not going to make a change. I think it's actually divided. It's a divided conversation.
Okay.
it is. I agree with that. But is it changing? Is there more people now becoming more aware? Because I have a debate going on right now about this Ajinasari issue with the Nogopo people, and strangely, the amount of support that is coming my
That
way is
surprised me.
strange. It's very surprising. Normally, it would
Yeah.
be most of the people would be condemning me for even questioning a Christian, and even saying that a traditional religious thing is worthwhile. Okay, but people talk about this as they demonize everything, and then people get angry. What are you talking about? This is our legacy. This is what has been bequeathed us from thousands of years of practice that we've survived on. So I think that there's a swell coming up. People are getting more and
Yeah,
more, into this. It's not
that's true.
like staying the same at all.
Awesome. Okay. Folks, look, with that, I'm going to say good night. I'm going to say thank you, thank you, thank you to both of you for taking the time to join me. And there will be more. I wish the audience was a little bit more active, but again, um, Rome wasn't built in a day.
Yeah.
Um, and future conversations hopefully will have a wider audience. So thank you so much, Rahima Akwe, or rather Quay. I
Oh,
keep calling you
yeah.
Rahima Quay, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah. And widely known as Uncle Ben, uh, uh, Ben Bracken, um, who was a great friend of this program and who you will see more and more of. Thank you so much, everybody. And that's the end. I'm going to end the